This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there, live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, even though it's Tuesday night when you'll be listening to this, it's a very warm end of the summer Tuesday afternoon here at MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, in the zip code of Champion 02176, as my good friend Cupcakes Hausman would say over at Noel's Salon. Morning, everyone. 347 Pleasant Street in Malden, Mass. Boston's elite hairstyling salon. A hop, skip, and a jump away from the Malden Center MBTA stop. Visit them over at noelsalon.com if they're good enough to make me look like I don't belong in a recycling bin with Oscar the Grouch. Imagine how lovely they can make you look, from Steven Tyler of Aerosmith to those Bozak, the Silver Twins of 90 Day Fiancé, to Downtown and Abby Brown. Give them a call. Book your appointment now to look radiant this fall. 781-324-9779. We just mentioned Steven Tyler. Did you hear who died today?
Eddie Van Halen,
Unbelievable.
65 years old.
That was the news I walked into here at the studio just moments ago. But we're certainly going to miss Eddie. I haven't been able to jump since the mid-2000s, but that was certainly the hit that made his career.
Yeah.
Well, one of them.
One of them.
Do you have any favorite songs of his?
I would say probably Jump, as you just said there.
All right,
but
well.
I could jump a little better, but...
You're doing a lot better than me, but thanks to our good friends over at Boost Oxygen, boostoxygen.com. I had a little oxygen in me, a little extra oxygen. So hopefully that'll get me through this. I still don't know if podcast is the proper term for whatever this version of the show is, but it is Wrestling Insider Current Events.
A socially distant show.
This one is we're more than 6 feet apart, you could say.
Well, a little bit.
And that might be for the best. But we are going to take a look at the October 5th, 2020 version of Monday Night Raw under that Thunderdome at Amway Arena in Orlando, Florida. It was a 3-hour spectacle. What kind of a spectacle it was? I don't know if I'd call it that. A spectacle, I'll call it. But we'll have to break it down bit by bit, as I'm sure your notes are as detailed as mine. From there, the man with the socks from Southwestern Connecticut, take it away. What did we have last night on Raw?
What opened the show was Randy Orton cutting a promo backstage. Randy is always a good promo. Do you think he's doing the best work he's ever done in 2020?
No, but it's as good as the work he's ever done, and that's a high compliment. How about that?
Yeah. He asked Drew McIntyre for one more shot at the WWE title, this time inside that Hell in a Cell structure. Drew then interrupted the promo in a low-lighted room, which was the Legends Lounge last week. I guess they didn't put any new light bulbs in. They brawled for a few seconds until a bunch of officials ran in and broke them up. The question I have is, how did those people know they were fighting and break it up so quick?
Well, you want to know what really happened?
What happened?
About 7:55, Randy Orton had someone knock at the door when Aleister Black was in there waiting for someone for a fight. And then Aleister ran out of the room to see who it might have been, and then Orton went in to cut the promo.
Well, that might have been it.
That's what happened. That's what happened.
That's the setup.
But no, my bad humor aside, I thought the promo was good. It just didn't need the physical altercation to open the show 10 minutes in.
Yeah, I just finished watching Raw about an hour ago. Yeah. But I said this, it just happens all the time, you know. WWE does something right, and then they do something wrong right away. So you're feeling good about it, and then you start feeling not so good about it. But I just don't get how all these people knew they were fighting within 10 seconds of each other getting physical. There's about 10 people that ran in to break them up. I'm surprised Shane wasn't there.
Well, he's still trying to figure out what to do with the Raw Underground structure, I guess. He's looking for a new home for it.
It wasn't as dark as Raw Underground in that room, but still dark as it is. What did you think of this opening segment?
No, like I said, the promo was fine. I just don't think they needed the physical interaction 10 minutes into the show.
Mm-hmm. Then in the next segment, Asuka, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose defeated Lana, Natalya, and Zelina Vega. This was the first random 6-person tag match of the night that was thrown together for no particular reason. It's a good way to turn away viewers right away in the first 15 minutes of the show. What did you think of this? I guess you could say it was the opening match, second segment of the night. What did you think?
My one note on this female 6-man tag was I guess WWE was admitting defeat early this week with 2 football games on.
I can't believe 15 minutes in, they're putting on a 6-woman tag match. How is that going to get any viewers to stay with the show? I don't know. A question I have for you. Do you think WWE's burying Lana with Rusev/Miro going to AEW? She's been put through the announce table 3 times already. I don't know how many pins in the past month, 2 months. She's taken about, I want to say, at least 10 or 15 pins in quick fashion, and she gets her ass kicked almost every single week.
My only
television.
My only response to that is I know over the past, almost 40 years now since Vince McMahon bought the company, WWE has been petty maybe once or twice.
Once or twice.
Once or twice they've chosen to be petty. But is there anything more exceptional you could be doing with Lana than what has been done?
But
either before, during, or with Rusev/Miro. I shrug my shoulders at that theory. I don't think they give Lana enough thought, to be honest.
But when you're putting her through the announce table every week, I mean, they haven't even put Natalya through it. It's always been Lana. Every time Natalya's
the vet. Natalya's the vet of the group.
I mean, a lot of people, I asked this question because a lot of people have been saying it on social media that they're punishing Lana for Miro going over to AEW and talking about WWE and all that stuff. I just broached the subject since she was in this hellacious 6-woman tag match.
I could say the potential is there, but considering the many other points of contention that I would be looking at on the weekly shows, considering how many times Lana goes through an announce table, really wouldn't be something that would be high on the food chain for my train of thought, but that's just me.
Yeah. Then in the next segment, Drew Gulak pinned R-Truth backstage for the 24/7 title. I guess Drew's still dressing up as a ninja. I don't know how good his Halloween costume is this year, but what do you think of Drew Gulak winning the title again?
Well, I wrote Drew Gulak dressed as a masked janitor/ninja defeated R-Truth to win the 24/7 title to ensure that even more people put on one of the 2 football games. But what you didn't note from the women's match that I got a kick out of was that how Corey Graves was talking about how the general managers are working the war rooms for the draft, for the upcoming Raw and Smackdown draft on Monday, or beginning this Friday, I should say, and next Monday. Who would these supposed decision makers actually be for the draft? They really didn't explain that, as the rules seem to change each and every year and very rarely for the better. But I kind of laughed at that.
Well, Corey Graves is on SmackDown, so maybe it was Tom Phillips.
To show how much of an impact Corey makes on the shows, it certainly wasn't even him. It must have been Byron Saxton or Samoa Joe or Tom Phillips. But I have no idea who these decision makers are, because they really didn't announce what the format was going to be for this big draft.
Yeah, well, how many times did we hear last night, the future is on the clock? How many times did you hear that one last night? The future is on the clock.
Oh, someone came up with that buzz tagline, and it got over, so they're gonna use that one to death until they come up with a new one for next year's draft.
Yeah. The next match, I guess you could say, which really wasn't much of anything, Seth Rollins and Murphy defeated Humberto Carrillo and Dominic Mysterio. I have one note. Seen it before many times. Nothing new or interesting.
This match has been repeated?
But with Rollins, Murphy, and Dominic Mysterio, this whole
not with Humberto, though.
Well, no, they were in the same match, 2 weeks ago in that triple threat?
But
number one contender.
You lost me for a second. I thought you meant they'd actually had the same 2-on-2.
No, it's just how many times have we seen Rollins, Murphy, Mysterio, and now they're going to add Carrillo to kind of spice it up a little bit so they can drag it out another month or two. it's just, I don't know how many times we got to see these guys face each other and in the same feud. How they've been, what is it, October? They've been feuding since March, April,
A lot of
something like that.
family pride on the line, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how much family pride they have still going on in October, and I don't know. It's just drags on.
The storyline itself sucked. The confrontation between Murphy and Rollins was weak. Dominic, for some reason, when he came out, acted like he didn't hear any of it, knew nothing about it, which I thought was actually kind of funny. It was good to see Humberto back on TV. I thought he was one of the rare good spots of the show during the no fan at all version of Raw during COVID. I thought the Humberto Andrade, Angel Garza, Rey Mysterio foursome was a good, actually interesting storyline compared to what's on right now. I think it's better for Dominic to be in a tag team where he's still very, very green. That was exposed last night, how green he is. I don't know if Carrillo's actually the veteran. Maybe they should be grooming him. But, you know what, at this point, anything will do, I guess. Does anyone care about Murphy as a heel? Does anyone care about Murphy as a face? Does anyone care about Ali and Mysterio? I have no idea. I think the answer, from my point of view, is absolutely not. But you know what? I'm not the only one that watched.
And then in the little, I don't know if it was later in the show, because they had Rollins and Murphy in about 3 or 4 segments tonight.
Big night for them, yeah.
Whether it was backstage or in the ring, but there was one point where they were hinting at a Hell in a Cell match between the two. And I just, how many Hell in a Cell matches are they going to have at this?
They're not going to waste a cell on this nonsense.
But no, they almost made it seem like, because they kept, I think both of them ended up saying something about hell and, facing each other and something like that. And I was just like, oh, you have like 8 Hell in a Cell matches? I don't know. Then in the next segment, the KO show hosted by none other than Kevin Owens with guest Bray Wyatt, who wasn't even there. I think the segment made Wyatt look like a goof. I know you say the same thing, but the Firefly Funhouse, I think you can do without that. The two things, I wish he was the Fiend 24/7, or use it as a Finn Balor demon type of way, where he uses it every once in a while, but he doesn't need to have the show where, I don't know, I don't like the show as it is. And then after...
The whole segment was brutal, but keep going.
Yeah, Aleister Black then attacked Kevin Owens on the ramp after he left the ring. Another thing I said was, who was Owens feuding with? It's all over
Everybody.
the place. That's what I'm saying. It's all over the place, and it makes it seem like the brand split is just stupid yet again. He's doing a segment with Bray Wyatt. He's facing him on Friday on SmackDown, and then he's having matches with Aleister Black at the same time. He's going back and forth to both shows. To fans who don't really follow it like we do, they can, get confused a little. Who's he fighting with?
As I said, it felt like a complete and utter waste of time. The talk show format from Kevin Owens is boring. A lot of what Kevin Owens, to me, does is boring. I think they kill the Fiend a little bit every time they bring him out as the Mr. Rogers character, and he was singing some ridiculous song that I can imagine only turned several tens of thousands of fans more over to the football games, building up a match that nobody really cares about or wants to see. I guess Aleister finally got the knock on his door and left the room. He just waited for Kevin Owens to be in the ring to come out and lay him out again to extend another feud that no one has any interest in or wants to see. So there was a lot accomplished about nothing, I guess, in that 15 minutes.
Then something else that nothing was accomplished with is Keithley and Braun Strowman ending in a double countout. WWE talked this matchup so much, it's not going to require a win-loss record, which is the first time I have ever heard them bring up a win-loss record.
Ever.
I was trying to think of a word of when they ever did it, and they've never brought up a win-loss record. And this is the first time I think I've ever heard them say exhibition match, which it means nothing. They don't do rankings like AEW does with the win-loss and, rankings and stuff like that, the power rankings as they call them. It makes no sense. Another thing where the brand split just goes right out the window. you got Braun Strowman, who's on Underground, then he's on SmackDown, and now he's been on Raw the past month or so. It's just, I get, maybe before I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it when there's really no sense to be had. Lee having very little clean wins and mostly screwy finishes shows how much they had for him coming up from NXT. At first it was like, oh, cool, he's going up against Orton. He beat him at Payback. He was on a good track. And then all of a sudden after that, it's just disqualifications, run-ins, count-outs. Just, they had nothing for him after the first week.
I think on a piece of paper, when they were writing it down, it seemed like it was kind of an interesting idea. I don't know why Strowman wears one of those Under Armour-style T-shirts now. I think it takes away from how physically impressive he is. I have no idea why they put a tight shirt on Keithley. But at the end, it was two behemoths, and then once it was executed, it was less than 2 minutes long with the double count-out. It was an exhibition, not a wrestling match. The win and the loss wouldn't count towards either man's record. I have no idea what either man's record is because it's never been mentioned before. Outside of Kurt Hawkins setting the record for most losses in a row and certain undefeated streaks, like you said, I have never in 36 years of watching WWF heard them reference win and loss records before. So I guess maybe we have something new to look forward to the fall season. Who knows? We'll think positive. Maybe it's the beginning of something new.
Yeah, then they'll forget about it the next week.
Probably.
And, do something else. Then in the next thing, R-Truth pins Drew Gulak to get back his 24/7 title. The only note I had was that title in the segment should have stayed in that garbage thing they were fighting in. But what did you think about?
Should have stayed in someone's notebook when they were at one of the creative meetings, because I wouldn't have taken it out of it. I would have kept it in the notebook, saved it for a rainy day.
Bring it back. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin defeated Apollo Crews and Ricochet. Again, the same thing over and over and over again. This feud again has been going on for months. I feel like all these scripts, SmackDown sometimes feels a little different, but Raw in of itself, I think it's because it's a little longer. It just seems like week to week the scripts are just copy and paste onto the next show. You know what I mean?
Well, I had in my notes it was the match of the night by default.
Well, I mean, I don't. It just, but do you agree with me that it just feels the same?
It's been done to death. I mean, it's been done in some way, shape, or form. It feels like every week for several, ever since they started to use Shelton on TV again.
What do you think of the Hurt Business and Apollo Crews? The only matches they've had, I think, ever since the Hurt Business started, every single match that these individuals have had is against each other.
It's just another reason why so many people are going to change the channel to put on the football games.
There's just nothing new to look forward to because, every week it's going to be the same people facing each other. And you're not going to miss that much. But
I was disappointed that you did not mention that there was another uninteresting promo with Bianca Belair that probably should have started airing several weeks before she debuted on television instead of 7 months after she debuted on TV. That's usually the opposite of how it used to go in the good old days. But you know what? Better late than never, I guess.
I think I fast-forwarded through it by accident. But, I like Bianca Belair. She falls in the same category as her husband, Montez Ford. She's a great athlete, know. But you say the same thing.
She's a hell of an athlete, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy had a little brawl after Murphy didn't apologize to Seth, which I think it made both of them just look weak. I mean, Rollins just screaming in his face, apologize. For what? For being friends with Aaliyah, I guess. They didn't really explain what he was truly apologizing for and why he needed to Rollins. I really couldn't care less about this whole storyline. Again, this has been going on, as we said before, since about March, April-ish, in the beginning of the spring. What did you think about this little brawl?
I have in my notes, it says, so insincere, so fake and phony sounding, made me want to change the channel. Nothing about it I wanted to see. Monday Night Messiah might not be the worst gimmick in wrestling, but it's certainly the biggest waste of a top-tier talent. Random kendo sticks under the ring. Why they're under wrestling rings is if they're needed to put the ring together, I don't know. Murphy beat Rollins with a kendo stick, so he'd apologize to Aaliyah. Rollins tricked Murphy and attacked him with the kendo stick. As Seth was getting ready to get the chair to take out Murphy, all of a sudden, the entire Mysterio clan came out. Aaliyah thought she was Miss Elizabeth on Saturday night's main event in 1987, trying to cover up Murphy, as if Honky Tonk Man was going to take him out with the guitar. I guess in the end, it makes Rey Mysterio look like wrestling's biggest idiot, because why would week after week after week he bring his wife and children to these wrestling shows if they're always going to be attacked by people with kendo sticks? I'd keep them at home if I had that worry, but that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Linda might need, well, I shouldn't say that out loud. I'll get the Bob Ryan treatment, but anyway.
Well, Angie
Mysterio really hasn't added much to the presentation.
No, not at all. Speaking of no presentation at all, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defeated Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan to retain the WWE Women's Tag Titles.
Why that went 2 segments? Oh my God.
Well, again, this match was originally supposed to happen at Clash of Champions. Nothing really coming out of this match. I mean, what did you think of it? I mean, the women's wrestling, I know both.
Nothing I wanted to see then. There's nothing I ever want to see from it again. Why on earth the company ever decided to add women's tag team titles when they have 2 tag teams across 3 brands is beyond me, other than to be PC and say, oh, we have women's tag team titles, even if the fans have no interest in them. Liv Morgan, fake, unathletic. Ruby Riott sold well. I'll give her that. She sold very well the beating that she took. But there was no reason for this to continue through the commercial break. It very easily could have been one segment. One segment of it was bad enough instead of 2, and I imagine that if the remote controls were judged, there would have been a lot of football going on those commercial breaks, but that's just one man's opinion.
Well, that's why I just ended up watching. That's what I usually do. I'll just watch football and then watch Raw the next day before we do our
maybe for the better.
Yeah, so I can fast forward through the commercials and stuff, so I don't have to sit through 3 full hours. I could do it in about 2 hours, which is a lot better. The next segment, MVP and Mustafa Ali. I don't know why they're back out there. I mean, they were at ringside before for that other tag match with the Hurt Business and Ricochet and Apollo Crews. They end up having a singles match that ended in a no contest. This was, I mean, not from our standards, but from the WWE universe, as Michael Cole says it, this is probably the most noteworthy segment for all the fans that are out there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
After Retribution attacks the Hurt Business, Ali is finally revealed as the leader of Retribution. I have a bunch of questions, not for you, but they're rhetorical, that I'm asking more of as a fan. Why did it take so long for them to reveal him as the leader? Does it tie into the Hacker storyline that they just dropped out of nowhere in the start of the summer? And then he got randomly moved to Raw. Why would Mustafa Ali stand by people backstage while he is the leader of the group? If he was the leader of the group, would he be buddy-buddy with everyone? You know what I mean? Just a couple questions. And what is he getting Retribution for? I don't want him to come out and say, I'm the leader and I'm here for my Retribution. I want to hear from him why he's getting his Retribution, why he chose to bring all these people, up for, they're all NXT guys. How did he get in contact with them, and why did he start the group? I just want these answers, and not have him come out as the leader and say, we're here for our Retribution and we want our, shot or whatever.
Well, he did put out a late night tweet. He said he's tired of seeing MVP on Raw 8 times a week. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Well,
potentially.
What did you think?
It's just you try and give everything new a chance, but it just plain sucks. It's uninteresting. It's boring. I have no interest to find out why Ali has anything to do with Retribution. I have no interest to find out what Retribution wants Retribution for. They've been around too long and accomplished nothing. The presentation of them is lousy, if not bizarre. It's another loser of a segment each week. I hate to say it, but
yeah,
it just sucks.
The next thing I have is, why didn't they end the show with this? They have been.
I agree, and I thought the same thing. I agree with you 100%.
They have been building this storyline up for so long and didn't even close Raw with their big reveal of the group that's been terrorizing the company for weeks, if not months, and they don't even close the show with it. They close.
As soon as the segment ends, it goes right back to the normal version of the show where they start talking about the draft.
And they just go to the announcers.
Yeah,
they go,
exactly.
And they go, wow, Mustafa Ali as the leader. Let's see what happens in the main event. The hell?
For weeks, they were grabbing their notebooks and running like they were in the Boston Marathon. And now, well, it's only Mustafa Ali, and it's a shoulder shrug. I don't know.
And then, you could have closed the show with that. For us, we wouldn't even care as much. But for the fans, they would. I mean, just even from their perspective, you'd want to end the show with a group that's been terrorizing you guys for so long. It just end with it. Instead of Randy Orton hitting an RKO, we'll get into that right now. Randy Orton hitting Drew McIntyre with an RKO and pinning him. And then they end the show right away, right after the 3 count. Randy runs out of the ring, and that's the camera shot right there. 10 seconds later. But as I just said, Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode defeated Drew McIntyre and the Street Profits. Another short 6-man tag match, especially in a main event slot that didn't even get 10 minutes after they announced it, almost a little bit shorter than a week ago. Just another tag match that was thrown together that didn't really tie. I don't know how Drew and the Street Profits got together, and Randy and the other two, how they got together and just put it together. Orton pinning the WWE champion on a random Monday Night Raw when he couldn't even beat him when it counted at the pay-per-views for the title. Could have had someone else take the pin instead of pinning the champion clean himself. I mean, you had Roode, Ziggler, who could take the pins. You know what I mean? Or at least have the Street Profits get the pin on Roode and Ziggler, or vice versa, whatever you want to do. But I don't really like the champion getting pinned
a typical common sense wrestling booking, heading into a big championship match like that, to give the challenger credibility. In a non-title situation, a tag team match situation like that, sure, let the champion take the pin from the challenger. My problem is, I've said it probably for about 6 or 7 months now, I do not think that anyone should beat Drew McIntyre in any way, shape, or form until they have live fans back in the venues to see just how over or unover the man actually is to live human beings in a live atmosphere. Did it help Randy Orton to have him beat Drew McIntyre in that 6-man tag? I don't think so. Did it hurt Drew McIntyre? Yes, because now the man has been pinned for the very first time since he won the title from Brock Lesnar, whether it's a title match, non-title match, tag team, 6-man, whatever it might have been. He took the 3 count. I think if he was going to take the 3 count, it should have been done when they had live people again. So I think that was a mistake on what I consider to be one of the most pointless, uninteresting Raws I've seen in just about every one of them in the past 27 years of the show.
And as we're talking about what we think of the show, what did you grade the show? I gave it a 2 out of 10, which is, I mean, I don't know what you have, but I'm going to guess
I gave it a 3 because there was nothing exceptionally bad in the ring. It's just the lack of thought, the lack of creativity, the lack of interest, the lack of creative spark, the lack of anything that makes me not want to change the channel and put on a football game. The lack of nothing going on to make me want to see the next pay-per-view. The lack of not even explaining a draft that I'm supposed to want to see, not once but twice over the next week. Those things are inexcusable on a 3-hour show, and they have so much time to fill. And they did nothing to fill any of those curiosity factors, so it gets a very low grade from me. The wrestlers in the ring worked very hard. They did the best with the material given to them. There was really no match out there that I thought was particularly bad, other than I could have done without 1 or 2 of the women's matches, so they get a 3 on the Dan Mirade scale of 1 to 10.
I really thought McIntyre and the Profits were going to win, and I had it at a 3 out of 10.
You were excited,
and then
yeah.
I already had it written down because I'll do my little predictions before the matches, and then Randy pinned him, and I was a little shocked, so I put it down to a 2. I don't know, but
you took great offense.
Yes, we'll get into the viewership. I sent it to you. I forgot we do the little thing where you try to guess it.
And I would have been spot on, my guess would have probably been about a 1.6.
It was 1,686,000.
So I would have been just a little low.
And they lost about 200,000 viewers from last week, but there was an NFL Monday Night Football game added on to last night because of COVID-related reasons, so they had another game to kind of contest with.
So not totally unexpected.
Not really.
As much as we knocked the content, there was some high-quality competition on other channels for them last night.
And I don't know if the baseball games were over by then. I didn't
have the stopwatch set. I'm not sure.
No. Well, a couple news and notes here. All of them are actually related to injuries. Eric of the Viking Raiders had arm surgery to remove some hardware in there. What do you think about?
Miss him.
Oh, we'll miss him.
I couldn't believe how high that was trending on Twitter last night. Number 3. First was Trump leaving Walter Reed Hospital, and second was that Angelo went to Target to look at Hot Wheels, and then coming in at 3 was Eric's surgery. So it was Eric is in everyone's thoughts right now.
Yeah. Riddick Moss says the past 2 months he's been working with a torn ACL.
Oh, it's a shame.
WWE.
Sorry, Riddick.
WWE will be breaking up Andrade and Angel Garza. They will no longer be a tag team anymore. What do you think of that?
I think there's a lot of pluses and a lot of minuses to it. I would have built them up stronger before I separated them, but I think both should be looked at as long-term main event projects.
All right. Well, that's all the news.
The better parts of that show.
Yeah.
Or whatever show they wind up on.
Yeah. Those are the news and notes that I have. Less than 24 hours removed from Monday Night Raw.
Well, at least it was quick. I'll say that. At least our review this week, the show was so boring. We didn't have
it's the same. It's the same stuff every week.
We literally could have ran probably most of last week's review show, and it would have been the same thing.
Probably. I mean, when it's the same stuff every week. I mean, how much thoughts are you really going to have? You know what I mean? When you have the same exact matches, same exact segments, same exact angles and storylines.
It's nothing like what's going on here in Boston wrestling sports, baby.
No.
Even though we're awaiting word on the live events for the Millennium Wrestling Federation, each and every week you can look forward to not 1, not 2, but 3 brand new talk shows. Tuesday at 9 p.m., it's Wrestling Insiders at Your House with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Along with that, each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m., it's Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll look at 80s and 90s professional wrestling. Then, each and every Friday night, forget about the Thunderdome in Orlando, the man that's got a lot going on his dome. John Cena Sr., Fabulous Friday. We got 3 big episodes for you to look forward to this week. If you don't want to wait, if you want to support the cause, all 3 are available over on that Patreon right now. Patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, where you get early, ad-free access to all of our great programs. You get access to be able to stream the Studio Shoot interview, DVD library with some of wrestling's greatest legends, and most important, you help keep professional wrestling legends working for about the cost of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. That's a hell of a deal, if I've ever heard one. And after that record-setting September that we had on the YouTube, the biggest thing we can ask of anybody is share. Let your friends know, let your fellow wrestling fans know what we're doing on Boston Wrestling. We got the 3 talk shows. We have the 4 TV show podcast-style reviews that we do. We do the live watch-along for pay-per-views. We have the 10 a.m. clips every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. Howard Miller just walked in and was so disgusted by what I was saying, he went in the other room. I won't hold it against him. We have Brutus the Barber Beefcake returning after Hell in a Cell on October the 25th. We're going to do a Bad Blood watch-along in honor of the very first Hell in a Cell match. the weekend of the pay-per-view later this month. I mean, we're talking about some weeks, I don't have it down to the number, but probably a dozen different videos. That's a lot of content we're giving folks to enjoy.
Especially in times
sports
like this.
Entertainment, baby.
Especially in times like this, right?
Absolutely. And you want to talk about times like this, as Quincy Rustani noted during the NXT and AEW review, the holiday season certainly is approaching us. And
right around the corner.
It is, and the eBay store is open for business 24/7 with great rare wrestling merchandise. Aside from the awesome wrestling collectibles you can get for your home, you also get an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas on an upcoming episode of Wrestling Insiders. It's a great way to keep those wrestling legends working. With some of them now, you're talking 6 or 7 months without any independent wrestling events to work, any autograph signings to take part in. And we also have the great WWE T-shirt bundle fundraiser going on right now over at BostonWrestling.com. For the regular price of a WWE Shop T-shirt, not only do you get the T-shirt, but you get a mystery autograph photo, you get a WWE Cup, and once again, you get an on-air shout-out from Tony Atlas on Wrestling Insiders. Best of all, you're helping keep the show on the air and helping keep those legends get a payday in the pocket, and that's very important to me. So I think I got all the cheap plugs in. Did I miss anything? I forgot about one note I certainly should make is we'd like to send out thanks to our friends at WWE Titan Towers and 2K Video Games for the Battleground video game that was sent out for PlayStation 4 for baby Marty. He has enjoyed Battlegrounds quite a bit. Many current superstars, many legends in the game, and a lot of our friends that are on TV now, and also alumni and Hall of Famers are going to be added on to the Battlegrounds game. It's very almost a modern-day version of WrestleMania, the arcade game, and NBA Jam from the mid-'90s. So the junior ambassador, Devon Brent, has had a lot of fun with Battlegrounds. I implore you to look it up, available at Amazon and fine retailers anywhere that sell PlayStation and Xbox games. If I knew how to use these systems, I might try and play it. But that would be a losing proposition, I think.
Well, I have an Xbox One, but I'm probably not going to buy the game. The only thing I play on my Xbox is Madden.
Yeah. Now, to save the wear and tear on the remote control, do you put socks over your hands?
No.
All right. Figured I'd check.
No, I'm not even wearing the socks right now. I don't wear socks in the house.
It's just a studio thing, I guess.
I guess.
All right. Well, Tina and Maria said they're keeping notes. It's been another wild Tuesday night here in Boston Wrestling. Of course, Tony Atlas earlier tonight discussed WWE's attempted takeover of Twitch and Cameo accounts of its current WWE superstars. If you missed the premiere at 9 o'clock, have no fear. It is available in the archives now. You won't believe who just walked in to add to the crew. The Puppet has joined us, your friend that was with us on Sunday. So there's certainly a reason to wrap up the show. It's always a pleasure to see the Puppet.
Well, does he have a beer with him again?
No, it looks like he has a slice of pizza and maybe a box root beer under his arm.
Oh.
A mug root beer. I apologize to the fine folks at Box. It's a mug's root beer. The Puppet's trying to look at the notes and see what's going on. Well, the Puppet certainly, if that wasn't the take it home sign, I don't know what is. For the prodigy, Matt Degnan, we will see you Thursday night. We got a big doubleheader coming up Thursday night, Matt. We're going to party with Marty, as we always do. It's kind of a deep episode where Marty remembers Blue Blazer coming into WWF the same time as him in 1988, as well as the death of Owen Hart, his friend, more than a decade later. And then after that episode of Wrestling Insiders, you and I will be back to discuss AEW and NXT, which can always be interesting. And maybe Quincy, for all we know.
Well, you never know.
You never know. Well, my friend, it certainly was a pleasure.
You as well. Hopefully Wednesday's a little better than last night. But
all right. Well, for Southwestern Sox himself, I'm Dan Mirade. Until we speak again, folks, you and yours be well, stay healthy. Good night.